Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're heading to Italy, at least in our minds. We're diving into the mysterious world of Elena Ferrante,
Elena Ferrante.
the author
Yeah.
behind the Neapolitan
The
novels.
Neapolitan Novels. It's really fascinating how these books, especially the first one, My Brilliant Friend,
Yes.
really captivated readers around the world,
Yeah,
especially in the U.S., where, literature and translation doesn't always get
right.
this kind of attention.
Yeah, it's true. I remember, I don't know, maybe like 5, 6 years ago, it felt like everywhere you went, people were reading those pastel-colored Ferrante paperbacks.
Yeah.
We have this article from the New York Times in our stack of sources today,
Yeah.
and it actually calls the HBO adaptation of My Brilliant Friend
Oh, wow.
one of the most insightful portrayals of a lifelong friendship ever made for television.
This series, like the novels, did such a wonderful job of capturing the essence of post-war Naples.
It really did.
The complexities of female friendship and the raw emotions
It's so immersive.
of those characters, Lanu and Leela.
Manu and Lila,
Mhm.
yeah. It really is an immersive experience.
Mm.
But here's where things get really intriguing, right?
Yeah.
The author behind these captivating stories, Elena Ferrante, has chosen to remain completely anonymous.
It's true. And that's the mystery we're going to explore today. Who is Elena Ferrante? And why the secrecy?
Why the secrecy? Yeah. It's a question that's fueled, oh my gosh, countless articles,
Right.
speculations, debates.
Oh, yeah. And it's really important to remember that, she's not a total recluse, right?
Yeah.
She's given interviews, she's written columns for publications like The Guardian, and she's even published a book called Frontumaglia.
Okay, Frantumaglia. And so that's like a collection of, what is it, like letters and
I did.
essays, interviews, that kind of thing.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. Letters, essays, interview. And what's so interesting is that, she uses Frontumaglia to really control her own narrative.
Uh-huh.
Even while revealing some biographical details,
Yeah.
She's very selective in what she shares,
Mm.
offering these little glimpses into her thoughts and experiences
Right.
while still maintaining this very strong wall of privacy.
It's like she's saying, I'll give you a peek inside,
Yes,
but it's on my terms.
it's on my terms.
Yeah.
And, that just makes her even more fascinating, I think.
It does. It really does. It adds another layer to the whole Elena Ferrante puzzle. So, okay. I think it's time to actually delve into the Neapolitan novels themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially the relationship between Lanu and Leela, which is really at the heart of it all.
Yes.
So for those who haven't read the books, Lanu and Leela, they're childhood friends growing up in this pretty poor neighborhood in Naples.
Right.
And it's a story about ambition and class, love, betrayal.
It is.
You see it all through the lens of this intense and sometimes even fraught, but ultimately unbreakable bond.
Yeah. And the HBO adaptation, it really brought that intensity to life, didn't it?
It did. It did. It felt so
It felt so real.
so raw. But let's get back to the mystery of Ferrante's identity.
Right.
Because over the years, there have been so many theories, but two names keep surfacing. Anita Raja and Domenico Starnone.
Yeah. Let's start with Anita Raja.
Okay.
She is a translator and editor,
Okay.
and she actually has worked for Ferrante's Italian publishing house, Edizioni EO.
So there is a direct connection there.
There is a direct connection,
Right.
and that connection, along with some, financial records, led a journalist, Claudio Gotti, to believe that Raja is actually Ferrante. And Gotti even suggests that Ferrante's personal history as the daughter of a Holocaust survivor is a key to understanding her work.
So he's drawing a link between her potential background
Yes,
and the themes that are explored in the novels.
exactly.
Okay, interesting. But what about Domenico Starnone?
Yes.
So,
What's the argument there?
right. So Starnone is a pretty well-regarded Italian novelist.
Okay. And some literary experts, they've pointed out some really striking similarities between Starnone's writing style and themes and those found in Ferrante's work.
Yeah, hold on. So we've got a journalist pointing to financial records, family history, and then we have literary scholars who are seeing echoes of Ferrante's style in another author's writing.
It's getting complicated, isn't it?
This is getting very complex.
It is.
Okay.
And there's even more.
Okay.
So Starnone's book, Ties,
Ties. Okay.
shares a very, very similar plot with Ferrante's The Days of Abandonment.
Days of Abandonment.
Okay, so both novels explore a wife being left by her husband,
Yeah.
but there are certain details that just overlap. There's a broken glass vessel in both,
Oh, wow.
and these really unsettling scenes involving pets. Then there's this academic paper
Wow.
that used linguistic analysis and concluded that, get this, that Starnone's writing has actually become more like Ferrante's over time.
It makes you wonder, is there some kind of collaboration happening?
It does, doesn't it?
Like, is Raja translating or editing for Starnone, and that's why their styles are merging?
Right.
Or could one of them be ghostwriting for the other? I mean,
It's a possibility.
it's a possibility.
But here's where things take an interesting turn.
Okay.
This whole investigation by Gatti.
Gady, the journalist,
Okay.
sparked a huge controversy.
It did. I remember that. People felt like he had just totally violated Ferrante's privacy.
Yes.
Especially since she had, so clearly and consistently chosen to remain anonymous.
Exactly. And author Jeanette Winterson, for example, she called Gaddy's actions
Yeah, I remember that.
violent and crude.
Yes.
And suggesting that they could even damage Ferrante's ability to write.
Yeah. It raises those questions about, does an author have a right to keep their identity secret? Especially when they've been so adamant about it.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that, Gaddy, he defended his actions.
He did. He claimed that he felt this responsibility to uncover what he saw as inconsistencies in Ferrante's public persona, and that he believed her true background as the daughter of Holocaust survivor was absolutely crucial to understanding her work.
It's a complex argument for sure. So we have these two leading theories,
We do.
both with some compelling evidence,
Yes.
but also surrounded by so much debate.
So much debate.
But what does Ferrante herself have to say about all of this?
Well, she has responded.
As she addressed these theories directly.
She has, and it's so fascinating.
What did she say?
Okay, so in a 2014 interview with Entertainment Weekly, she was asked about her anonymity, right?
Yeah.
And they asked if she ever regretted it
Uh-huh.
or felt the urge to reveal herself.
Okay.
And her reply, "Your image of the window is amusing. My home is on the upper floors. I'm afraid of heights, and my ego gladly avoids leaning out the window."
So she's playing with that image of the reclusive author, but also hinting at, like, the potential fear that comes with exposure.
Exactly. And if we look at Starnone's reaction to being considered Ferrante,
Yeah, what was that like?
he seemed equally perplexed.
Oh, really? What did he say?
He's been quoted as saying, let's say I am Ferrante, or that my wife is. Explain to me one thing. Given that it is so rare in this mud puddle that is Italy to have international reach, why would we not make the most of it? What would induce us to remain in the shadow?
It's like he's saying, if it were me, why wouldn't I be shouting it from the rooftops?
Exactly.
So that brings us back to that initial question.
Right.
Why the anonymity?
Why?
She stated early on that it was out of shyness, fear of stepping into the public eye.
Right.
But as her career progressed, it seems like her reasons became more about artistic and philosophical choices.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, like she believes the work should just speak for itself, detached from the author's personality.
Yes. And that's a really key point to consider. Does knowing the author's identity actually enhance the reading experience? Or does it, as Ferrante might suggest, actually distract from the pure power of the story itself? Really makes you think, doesn't it? About, how different her approach is.
Yeah. I mean, especially today when it seems like everyone's chasing clout, they want followers.
Right.
And here's Ferrante, like, actively choosing to not step into the spotlight.
It makes you question.
Even with all this success.
Yeah.
It really does.
The whole system, yeah.
The whole system.
Like the work is what matters, not
Right.
my face on a book jacket or,
Yeah.
how many
My follower count.
followers I have, yeah.
And I think it raises such a big question for us as readers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, are we more focused on the creator
It does.
or the creation? I mean,
Yeah,
because let's be honest, knowing things about an author's life
sure.
can really influence how we view their work.
Absolutely. Just imagine reading those really intense scenes of friendship and rivalry in the Neapolitan novels,
Yeah.
but knowing for certain that they were written from a male perspective.
Oh, wow.
How would that change your perception of the characters
Oh.
or how you interpret the emotions that Ferrante portrays?
Right, right.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, it adds another layer
It just adds another layer of complexity.
of complexity for sure.
And that's where the whole debate surrounding Ferrante gets even more interesting. Because some people argue that trying to uncover her identity It's just this fun literary
Yeah.
detective work,
Yeah.
a quest to understand the creative process more deeply. But then you have others who see it as a violation, like what Jeanette Winterson said,
Right.
a stripping away of the protection that an artist has chosen for themselves.
Yeah. It's almost like you're saying an artist doesn't have a right to control their own narrative, their own life,
Right.
especially when they've made such a deliberate choice to separate it from their art.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it really forces us to confront our own curiosity, right?
Yes.
I mean, is there a line between wanting to know more and becoming intrusive?
And could that intrusion
Yeah.
take away from the art itself?
That's a great point. I mean, let's not forget, Ferrante has built a career, for decades,
Yeah.
with so many dedicated readers who just appreciate her work for what it is,
Right. It's not just a recent phenomenon
regardless of who might be behind it. Yeah.
tied to the Neapolitan novels.
Exact.
It's like she had this commitment to anonymity long before
Yes. Yes.
before Ferrante fever took hold.
Exactly. And that consistency, it just makes her choice even more impactful.
Yeah. It's a statement. It's not a
Thank you.
game or a marketing ploy.
Right.
This is like an artistic principle that she's really committed to.
I think so.
Yeah. And you think about how that might even affect her writing.
Right.
She's free to delve into these really complex themes.
Yes.
Explore the intricacies of relationships without fear of judgment or personal scrutiny.
Without, having to worry about how people are going to perceive her.
Like there's a rawness and honesty
There is.
in her work that I think might be harder to achieve if she constantly worried about.
Yeah.
Like how her words were going to reflect on her public image.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like she's found a way to just create
Yeah.
without being consumed by all those pressures of
Right.
fame and recognition. I mean,
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
it's pretty remarkable.
It really is. I mean, do you think this whole mystery surrounding her identity has actually contributed to her popularity?
Oh, I think it definitely has.
You know? It's like this real-life puzzle playing out alongside her fictional ones.
Oh, absolutely. The intrigue,
Yeah,
the speculation, it all adds to the allure, right?
right.
But even if we never definitively know who Elena Ferrante is,
Yeah.
I think the conversation her anonymity has generated about authorship, privacy, and the power of art, I mean, it's just incredibly valuable.
You're right. Maybe that's the real legacy here.
Yeah.
It's not about putting a name to a face,
Right.
but it's about reevaluating how we engage with art and artists.
Yes.
And recognizing that the most powerful stories can sometimes come from the most unexpected places.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that sometimes the most compelling mystery
Yeah.
lies not in knowing who created something,
Right.
but in experiencing the profound impact
Yes.
of the creation itself.
It's wild to think what Ferrante's choice could mean for the future of books and writing.
It really is, especially now, when social media is everywhere. Authors are expected to have this picture-perfect persona online, but
Yeah.
Ferrante, she's like the opposite of all that.
Total opposite. Like she's reminding everyone about the power of words.
Yes.
It's not about the author's face or their life story. It's about
Right.
the stories themselves and how deeply they connect with readers.
It takes us back to a time when
Yeah.
it was all about the work.
The
The work, not all the other stuff.
No distractions. So it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
could this start a trend? Like, will we see more writers choosing to be anonymous?
It's possible, right?
Maybe.
Think about the freedom
Yeah, the freedom.
to explore tough topics.
Right.
Push boundaries.
Without worrying about backlash.
Yeah, without fear of personal attacks.
Or even that pressure to fit into some mold
Oh, absolutely.
that a publisher might want.
Totally. Anonymity would let authors focus on
On the writing.
the writing, experiment, take risks.
Risks they might not take if their name was on the line.
Exactly.
Yeah. It could even
Level the playing field in a way.
level the playing field, yes.
No more judging a book by its cover.
Literally.
Yeah.
Readers would have to
Engage with the words.
engage with the words, yeah.
Yeah. Without knowing who's behind them.
It's fascinating to imagine, isn't it?
It really is. But, we have to be real.
Yeah.
There are some practical challenges.
No, of course.
Like, think about marketing.
Especially now.
Especially now, with social media.
It's all about the author's platform.
It is. And for some readers, that connection with the author,
Yeah.
it matters,
It does. It does.
They want the backstory, the inspiration,
Right.
the inside scoop on how the book came to be.
to feel like they know the person behind the words.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. So maybe there's room for both.
Maybe.
Some authors in the spotlight.
Right.
Others, like Ferrante, choosing anonymity.
And readers can decide what matters most to them.
Exactly. the mystery of the unknown,
Yeah.
or that personal connection with the writer.
It's a conversation that Ferrante really started.
She
And
did.
it goes way beyond just books.
It makes us think about art differently,
Yeah.
about authorship.
In a world where everything feels so out in the open.
Overexposed, yeah.
Mm.
So whether or not other authors follow her lead,
Right.
there's no denying her impact.
No denying it.
She's shaken things up,
She has.
made us think about privacy.
About artistic freedom.
And ultimately, she's reminded us about the power of a good story.
So well said. Elena Ferrante, whoever she is, has given us so much to ponder.
More than just the mysteries in her novels.
A mystery that goes beyond the pages,
It makes us look at our own relationship with art differently,
Yeah.
with anonymity even.
And how we search for meaning when we're bombarded with information.
This deep dive has been fascinating.
It has.
We've explored those leading theories about Ferrante.
We have.
Talked about the ethics of trying to unmask her.
Right.
Even imagine how her choice could change the literary world.
It's amazing to think about, right?
It really is. And maybe
Maybe the biggest takeaway
the biggest takeaway.
is that sometimes it's not about finding all the answers,
Yeah.
but about sitting with the questions.
The questions that stay with you long after you finish the book.
Exactly.
The ones that make you see things in new ways.
Beautifully said.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up
Okay.
this deep dive into the mystery of Elena Ferrante.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.